This 2015 Nissan GT-R Premium is one of the most ultimate cars to ever come out of Japan. Now, there is some debate as to whether or not this car is a supercar or not, and I'd like to settle that right now. It most definitely is. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what makes this car so incredibly successful, why it's one of the fastest and best cars ever to come out of Japan, and tell you why you should come to RPM Garage today to take a look at it and maybe even buy it. If you're at all familiar with Nissan as a brand, then you'll know that this car is the culmination of years and years and years of work, and that it's the descendant of a number of Japanese sports cars. You see, Nissan developed the Skyline line of performance cars back in the 80s and 90s, but what most people remember are the Skylines from the 90s, the R32, the R33, and the R34. Now, in the case of this car, it takes styling traits, performance characteristics, and a number of other cool things, along with the GTR badge from those predecessors, and it's resulted in one of the greatest cars that Nissan has ever created. Now, this car does not have a stock exterior, as you might imagine. These 20-inch Voigtsteiner alloy wheels are wrapped in a beautiful chrome red, and they look fantastic against the black paint with a lot of metallic flake in it. Now, this car also has a Nismo-style spoiler and a number of performance modifications that become extremely evident both once you turn on the car and when you look under the hood. Now, obviously, I will have a startup video for you later in the video, and I'll also talk a ton about the hand-built six-cylinder engine under the hood. However, it's the styling that I really wanted to focus on for now, because this car is truly beautiful, and it has an instantly recognizable silhouette that you may or may not be familiar with. Like I said, this car takes a lot of styling characteristics from the R33, R34, and R32 Skylines, and I'll put pictures of those up here, here, and here, just for some comparative reference. Now, you see, what's great about this car is that it is so beautifully timeless. You see, this was built in 2015, but it looks like it could have been built 5 days ago or 10 years ago when the car first came out in 2009. That's why I love this car so much and why it belongs in the Hall of All-Time Great Supercars, because it truly does have that timelessness, that performance, and that instant recognizability that I love so much about supercars. A car with iconic styling like this, though, deserves a ton of iconic power, and of course, Nissan has thankfully provided us that. Under the hood is a 3.8-liter hand-built twin-turbo V6 engine that produces, without any modifications, 545 horsepower and 463 pound-feet of torque. Now, all of that is sent through an automatic transmission to all four wheels, providing some of the best driving experiences possible with any car, period. That being said, this car has a lot of modifications to it, including a full bolt-on setup, a flex fuel tune, an AMS downpipe, and an SBD quad tip exhaust, and altogether they produce some of the most beautiful notes ever. And of course, with all of those changes comes some power. This car is pushing somewhere around 650 to 700 horsepower, and you can absolutely feel it behind the wheel. I absolutely love driving this car as a result of it. Now, I've driven probably 7 or 8 GTRs in my lifetime, particularly in the last year. And as a result of all that drive time, I really understand how this car drives and what it feels like to be inside of it. But with this car specifically, this specific example I'm standing in front of, the driving experience is so very elevated because of the power under the hood and because of this incredible Nissan GT-R suspension. Now, Nissan put this car in development for ages, and they've put a ton of work and research into creating every single aspect of the car at a perfect level. As a result of that, this car has some of the most insanely quick handling and some of the best suspension on any car ever, and that's why it can corner so insanely well. Additionally, this car can accelerate from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds as a result of all the power under the hood and because of Nissan's extensive work on their four-wheel drive system. As a result of all these changes, this car is truly magnificent to drive, and I cannot stop talking about it in any shape, way, form, or capacity. Now, I obviously have to talk about the interior as well, so we're going to dive right in there, and then I'll tell you a few more things about the cool car. When it comes to a lot of cars like this, what manufacturers tend to typically fall short on is the interior amenities and the overall comfort that the car offers. Usually they're so performance oriented that the inside just feels like a minimalist seat with a steering wheel and some pedals to make the car go. And, that's fine, but I love when they actually pay a little bit of attention to the interior, and Nissan has really gone all out. These beautiful leather bucket seats are insanely supportive, and they're so supportive, especially in the corners. Now, if you're familiar with Top Gear, there is a slight caveat to that because Jeremy Clarkson did throw out his back while driving this car because it is so well tuned in the suspension. That being said, this car is insanely well built, especially in the interior, and these seats do a great job of supporting. Beyond that, though, this car has a ton of interior features that make it really, really comfortable to be in and really, really sporty to be in. These carbon fiber panels here and here really add a level of coolness to the car that you wouldn't necessarily get in a lot of other sports cars. And the fact that they've provided a fully functioning infotainment with Bluetooth and navigation, a rear camera, all the things you might want is beautiful. I really, really appreciate it. One of the cool things, though, about the interior of this car is the sound system. So this car has a Bose sound system in it that has a rear seat mounted subwoofer that produces some incredible bass, and it's beautiful and fantastic and awesome to be in, especially when, if you're ever bored of that exhaust note, you can just pop on some music and it actually sounds good. Because that's another shortcoming that I've seen a lot in other supercars, is there's no attention paid to the sound system. And once again, Nissan has been so thorough and provided a great one. Truly, being in this interior is amazing, but obviously it's really, really hot out. So I'm going to hop out of here after maybe spending a couple minutes in the AC and tell you guys a little bit more about the exterior of the car and some of the other cool features about this car before telling you exactly why you should come to RPM Garage today to check it out. A car as special as this obviously has no end to the things that can be talked about when it comes to talking about the car and the icon and the culture that it represents. Now, that being said, I wanted to dive back into the exterior for a moment because I left a few things off at the beginning of the video. The first of which are the spider black LED taillights. Now, I'm a huge, huge fan of the original stock taillights on the GT-R, but these are on a completely new and completely different level that I absolutely love. I obviously will show them to you when I do the startup of the car because you'll see them when the car turns on, but they are so, so gorgeous, and I really hope you're as excited about them as I was when I first saw them. One other thing you might have noticed is this carbon fiber diffuser. Now, obviously, this car doesn't exactly need any more downforce or any more sporty details, but it's one that looks brilliant on the car, and it's one that has been beautifully placed and added, and I really think it was a well-chosen addition, even if it wasn't really necessary from a styling or performance standpoint. Finally, I've talked about it a lot, but these exhausts look absolutely wicked on this car. And I know I've said that this car is insanely modified and has an insanely good exhaust note and all of these great things, but it looks so, so cool too. And I really, really love just looking at it, even though really the main point of them is for performance and for sound. Now, going back to the car itself, this car has 47,000 miles on the odometer, and that's usually around the time when most people start to shy away from supercars, is in that 30,000 mile to 50,000 mile range. However, with this hand-built 3.8 liter V6, I can assure you that this is not in any way a concern. These engines are extremely reliable as well as extremely high performing, which is why I cannot urge you enough to consider the value that you're getting with this car. Now, this car is listed for about $70,000 at RPM Garage right now, and I cannot emphasize how good of a deal that is, especially because this car was originally priced at well over $120,000, plus an extensive modification list that obviously cost thousands of dollars more. Because of that, I really, really urge you to come at least look at this car, test drive it, and I hope you'll take it home with you because it is one that deserves to go to a great home and be driven on a regular basis. I'd like to thank each and every one of you so very much for watching this video today, and I hope you all enjoyed it just as much as I did filming it. I hope you'll all consider going down to our inventory in the link below and checking out our Instagram and our TikTok, which will also be linked as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.